you're looking to form an LLC in the Cayman Islands, you're in the right place. I spent the last year helping people set up international companies, and in today's video I'm gonna show you exactly how to register a Cayman Islands LLC completely online, which is fully compliant. So by the end of this tutorial you understand how the Cayman Islands LLC system works, how to register your company, what documents you need and receive, the real cost and the compliance you must maintain. This setup is perfect if you're running an online business, a crypto project, consulting, holding assets, or simply need an offshore structure for privacy and international operations. I'll keep it simple, practical and beginner friendly, so let's get into it. But first of all, why choose the Cayman Islands for your LLC in the first place? The Cayman Islands is one of the most reputable offshore jurisdictions in the world, and for a good reason. Now first, the tax benefits. There's 0% corporate income tax, there's no capital gains tax, no withholding tax and 0% tax on dividends. This truly makes it one of the most tax efficient places to incorporate internationally. Second, it has a world-class business reputation. Unlike some offshore jurisdictions that seem shady, Cayman is internationally respected, especially for investment funds, fintech, crypto companies or holding structures. You also get strong privacy and asset protection, and the Cayman companies allow confidential ownership and your personal information is not publicly listed. Plus, there's very flexible online corporation. You can register from anywhere in the world, no need to visit the islands yourself. Everything is handled digitally through professional agents, including filing, beneficial ownership submissions and annual renewals. So if you're an international entrepreneur or running online businesses, Cayman is truly one of the strongest and most stable offshore options on the planet. Now let's quickly go over how a Cayman Islands LLC works in the first place and how it differs from, for example, a US LLC. Now a Cayman Islands LLC is officially called an exempted company. This structure protects your personal assets, keeps your business as a separate legal entity, it allows global operations and is not required to conduct business inside the Cayman Islands itself. It has flexible international governance and is basically the Cayman Islands version of a US LLC, but with more privacy and a tax-neutral environment. And just like forming a company in the US, you must use a licensed registered agent in the Cayman Islands, but it's for entirely different reasons. In Cayman, only authorized licensed providers can submit company filings. You cannot file the LLC yourself. Now the agent handles compliance, filings and official correspondence, and they also maintain your registered office, which is required by law in the Cayman Islands. And using a licensed agent is not optional, it's required by the Cayman Islands Companies Act. And this is where a global offshore company comes in. They are an approved formation provider and handle the registered office, local filings, annual renewals, beneficial ownership submissions and all the communication with the Cayman authorities. And by using a good licensed agent, it simplifies everything for your company setup. So for this video, we are going to be using globaloffshorecompany.com. They make the process extremely streamlined and let you form Cayman companies fully online. Now to follow along, you can click the link in the description or go to buyhustle.com/Cayman LLC. This will then bring you to the official website of Global Offshore Company. As you can see right now, we are on the site, and from here we can click Start Your Company. Then first it's gonna ask what type of service we need. And for this we want company formation/incorporation. Then we need to select the jurisdiction of incorporation, and for this we have a couple options and we want to select Cayman Islands. And then we have the type of incorporation, and here we have two options: the exempted company limited by shares and the LLC option. Now for this tutorial and for most online entrepreneurs and crypto founders, you should choose the limited liability option. Now at the right you will see the full pricing breakdown and everything included. And as you can see, the incorporation fee in the Cayman Islands is quite hefty. Now I'll show you the exact pricing details of what it costs to open and maintain an LLC in the Cayman Islands later in the video. And then down here they give you optional items like bank account opening, consultancy, helping you open a bank account in any of these countries, and also bookkeeping options. Now these are totally optional, but I'll show you bank account options in this video as well. So from here we can simply click on the next step. Now on here you will see a login screen. If you already have an account you can simply sign in, but if it's your first time you want to create your account right here by filling in your details. So for your name, enter the legal name as it appears on your passport, and for the nationality, choose your nationality right here, which for me is Netherlands. So I'll simply fill in the details and then click on sign up. And then we click sign up. And now we're inside the dashboard. We're now on step 2, the service details page, and this is where we want to fill in all the information of our company. Now first it's going to show the name check option where we want to fill in a name for our LLC. Just type in the company name that you want. This can be anything. I'll go with VectorTube. Now your agent will run the availability check for you and confirm if it's allowed in the Cayman Islands. Next we have the director information, and in a Cayman Islands LLC, the director is basically the person who manages the company. Now for this you gotta fill in your personal information once again, just like that, and then we have the shareholder information as well. And even though this is an LLC, the system still uses a traditional shareholder label for the ownership. And an individual can be both a director and a shareholder, so if you're forming this company alone, you're gonna enter the same information once again right here, which is what I will do as well. Then the percentage of the shares I will own, that will be 100%. Of course, if you have multiple shareholders on the company, you can divide this 50-50, 30-70, however you want to do that. The next up, we have the contact information, how they can get in touch with you. Simply fill in your phone number, the email address, and if you have a special request. Once you fill this in, click next step once again, and this is where you can complete the payment. Here you can see a total price of 3,700 USD for setting up an LLC in the Cayman Islands. Now, in case you would like to know what this money is going to, I'll show you the complete pricing breakdown and ongoing costs in this page right here. So, for the initial formation, the Cayman Islands government fee is $1,500 for forming your LLC. Then the LLC formation fee itself for the agent is $1,200, and parts of this are the registered office of registration, the compliance and KYC processing, finding the incorporation documents, and drafting the constitutional documents. So in total, the initial formation costs are going to be $3,700. But that's not everything here. You're also going to have ongoing costs to keep your Cayman Islands LLC active and in good standing. Now first, there is the annual government renewal fee. This is the mandatory Cayman Islands charge to renew your company each year. This typically ranges from $850 to $1,200 USD depending on your company structure. Next, every Cayman Islands LLC must maintain a licensed registered office, and this is required by law. So this is basically renewing the service you already got from the beginning each year. Then there's also a fee for annual compliance and extra due diligence, so KYC documents updates, maintaining your beneficial ownership records, economic substance filings, and the statutory record keeping. Now this usually is around $350, so then in total the range is around $2,200 and $2,550 per year. Okay, now let's talk about the timelines and the documents that you will receive. So for the LLC formation through a global offshore company, it takes usually about 3 to 7 business days. From here, you will receive your certificate of incorporation, which basically proves that your LLC exists in the Cayman Islands, your memorandum and articles of association, the registered office certificate, so where your company will be located, the share certificate, the director appointment resolutions, and the beneficial ownership register, which will not be public. Global Offshore Company will also provide a client portal where you can access your documents anytime, manage renewals, submit updates, and handle compliance requests. This is basically your headquarters for your Cayman Island entity. Then let's talk about the taxation. This is going to be very important, and here is the key part. Cayman has a zero tax environment for businesses and residents, which means Cayman companies pay 0% corporate income tax, 0% capital gains tax, 0% withholding tax, and 0% tax on dividends. However, this does not automatically mean that you pay zero tax personally. So if you still live in a high tax country, like my home country, which is the Netherlands, you would still need to pay personal income tax based on the country where you live. Now let's say you're gonna actually move to the Cayman Islands and live there, then yes, you could have a truly 0% income tax life. But as I said, this really depends on the country where you are a resident. Now a quick note on EINs. Cayman entities do not need a US EIN unless you're opening a US bank account or doing US connected business. And the good news is that Global Offshore Company can also help you obtain an EIN number for opening these bank accounts. Now let's also talk about the required annual filings and compliance in Cayman. And they do have strict yearly compliance rules, so this isn't something you can ignore. Well, first you need to renew your registered office each year. This is the local Cayman service that keeps your company legally active, and it must be renewed every single year. Next is the annual government renewal fee, which is the official Cayman Islands fee to keep your company in good standing. You also need to keep your beneficial owner records up to date and make required filings each year. And depending on what business you actually do, you may also need to complete an economic substance declaration. Now the good news once again is that Global Offshore Company helps with all of this. They handle the registered office renewal, remind you about the deadlines, help maintain your beneficial ownership filings, and guide you to any economic substance declarations you're required to submit. So when doing this, you never have to figure out anything of this on your own. Now next, let's also talk about bank accounts, because there are many options for a Cayman LLC. First, let's talk about the recommendations from Global Offshore Company themselves. And inside your dashboard, they actually give you a list of recommended countries and banks you can apply with, like Belize, Singapore, the British Virgin Islands, the US and the UK. All of these are international business friendly restrictions, and many banks there are used to working with Cayman LLCs. For example, if we choose Singapore, we have a lot of good options right here like Airwallex or OCBC. If you prefer something faster and more modern, you can also use US fintech banks, which is what I personally have as well. Now some of them once again are Airwallex, Relay and Mercury. For Mercury, for example, I can simply go to their website and then click on Open Account. And then when I get to the part of country of incorporation, we can change this from the United States to the Cayman Islands right here and then fill in the details from here. Honestly, Mercury has been a pretty good bank for me, so I would highly recommend them. Important to know again is if you apply for a US bank, including fintech banks like Mercury, you will need a US EIN, which is your employer identification number. Like I said, the agent can also help you obtain this if you need one, so that part is completely taken care of. Besides that, I want to show you a couple other offshore banking options that are very popular. Wise, which is pretty much also a fintech bank, Statris in Hong Kong, or First Capital. Now to recap, the Cayman Islands is one of the most reputable offshore jurisdictions with no corporate taxation and strong privacy. Formation is fully online through Global Offshore Company, but annual compliance is mandatory and must be budgeted for. Now for all the things I talked about and extra resources, I left links down below in the description. If you have any questions, please send me a message on Instagram or ask them down below in the comments. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.